Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today we're back to working over here on the Thompson surface grinder, and today's task is we're going to be working on the hydraulic system on this and hopefully get this table moving back and forth. We have previously got the table scraped in. It's ready to be connected back up to the hydraulics, but before we do, I want to give the hydraulics a good check out, and we need to get the hydraulic fluid in this as well. I got Jim Lane coming down to help me today. Jim is a hydraulic expert. Retired from Motion Industries, learned hydraulics back in the Air Force in his younger days, and has basically worked with hydraulics his entire life. And he has graciously agreed to come over and help me today with this and just give things a good check out. I'm really not expecting any big surprises on this. So far, this machine has been in pretty good shape, but I'm almost scared to say that because I may have just jinxed myself. We'll see. But Jim's going to be here in a few minutes. We're going to get started. I got about 60 gallons of hydraulic fluid that's got to go in this thing. We need to clean the tank up one more time, make sure all that's good. And like I said, check out the hydraulic cylinder, make sure everything's working good there, and get the table hooked up. And hopefully we're going to see this thing moving back and forth by the end of this video. Let's keep our fingers crossed. We're going to get at it. Jim made it. As you can see, I've got him put to work back here. Say, hey, Jim.
Hello.
We're pouring oil in here. We got 60 gallons of hydraulic fluid to pour in here. And I tried to get a 55-gallon drum, but they didn't have any locally. So I ended up just getting the buckets. I was going to have to wait to get a 55-gallon drum in. So anyway, we're just going to pour it in by the buckets. But this way I get some free 5-gallon buckets out of the deal too, right?
Yeah. This is the best way to do it.
I will mention that kind of off camera, Jim got here this morning and we had a little bit of plumbing still left to do on the pump back here. There was just a little fitting, nothing major at all, but we were missing a connector, and we had to make 3 trips to town to finally get everything we needed to get that done. But we've got that hooked up. There's basically just a little relief valve, or relief pipe that goes into the pump. That goes to it goes up to some of the connectors or whatever, but we got all that worked out. But anyway, we're going to be sitting here pouring fluid in here for a while. Like I said, this thing holds 60 gallons of fluid, so I got 12 5-gallon jugs, and we'll get busy doing that. We'll bring you guys back here in a little bit once we get this thing full of fluid. So guys, we got the hydraulic fluid all in here. We've run the pump, basically got all the air out of the system, and we've been kind of just playing around with it a little bit, checking out how it goes. So this is the hydraulic ram that's going to move the table back and forth. And whenever I cycle this knob here, which is basically what your dogs are going to trip it back and forth, you can see it's moving the ram, comes back out. At the same time, notice the top is moving, and that's moving the grinding wheel across the work as well. I believe there's some settings on this. I haven't quite got to figuring all that out yet, but we're getting there. The other thing I'll note is that whenever the ram is pumping here, it's also pumping oil out onto these ways, and that's what keeps these ways lubricated. And we're basically just using hydraulic fluid as our way oil here, which is fine. But the pumps here are pumping oil whenever the ram is moving. It's pumping oil. Whenever the ram stops, it stops pumping oil. So all that seems to be working. So I think we're ready to put the table back on here and try her out. So let's do that. We're going to shut this thing off. That pump is noisy.
Well, it could be a little bit of air. We may have still a little bit of leak on that inlet. It's not aerating. I can tell you that. Look at it here.
Yeah.
You see how clear that oil is?
Right.
It's not aerating.
That's good. We don't have any air down in the oil.
It could be cavitating.
Yeah.
Cavitating is where you have some orifice, whether it be on the filter or whatever, that oil, the area to get the oil into the pump is reduced. And since we can't increase atmospheric pressure, we have to increase the pressure at the pump.
Right.
Okay. So, but now that's a vane pump.
Yeah.
And that vane pump is probably what, 60 years old?
Yeah.
Okay. I move a little slow at 75, so I can totally understand it. But as far as speed goes on the main ram,
Yeah.
man, that's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome. Up here, I wish I knew how the valving worked. I can tell you, we don't have any valve leaks back here. I looked, and I don't see any appreciable leaks. You see anything down there?
No, everything looks good back
Yeah.
here. I mean, I don't see anything of anything. And the nice thing about the way this is set up is if there is any hydraulic leaks on any of this, guess what?
Goes in the tank.
It goes right back into the tank. While
Yep.
not ideal, at least we're not going to make a mess.
But
And
it's better than dumping on the floor.
absolutely. And I don't see any oil leaks. We did have one when we first started up, but we were able to tighten something up back there and got that appears to be resolved as well. So
Yeah.
I think we're doing good.
Yeah.
All right, let's put the table back on and get it connected. There's just a couple of
Okay.
bolts here that tighten up on that, and I think we'll be in business.
All right.
You might want to pull that. Well, guys, I think we got it working like it's supposed to. I'm going to fire it up here in just a minute, but before all the noise starts, I want to thank Jim for coming down.
Thank you. Let me come down.
Yeah, and we were able to get all this going. All the hydraulic stuff appears to be working fine.
Yep.
What, you see any issues in there at all?
I don't see any issues. We didn't see any air in the tank after we got everything out of the cylinders. The air out of the cylinders were bled. Don't see any pump issues. It's running constant about 325, 330 when it's idling, and operational pressure is about 300.
300 psi, yeah. And didn't notice any leaks or anything going on with the control valves while we had the table off. But again, if it is, you lose a little pressure, but it's not making a mess at least. So anyway, yeah, let's fire it up and kind of run it through its paces. Again, that pump, it's loud, but it's what it is. So the table's going back and forth. I got my stops on there. I can control the speed of this on this knob on the front. So you can slow it down, speed it up. That's about as fast as it goes. And then on the cross slide up here, we figured out these are the controls over here. So you move it to the front and it just continuously goes back and forth. You move this handle the other way and it moves intermittently. So basically every time the table moves, it's going to move the cutter over just a little bit. And then it starts coming back the other direction. And there is some speed control on that as well by moving the handle back and forth. Controls how fast that moves. Everything appears to be working just like it should. I'm going to put everything back in neutral here. But yeah, I think we're good to go.
It would be nice if we could put that power unit outside.
Yeah.
But the inlet line would be too long.
It'd be too long. But it's fine. I mean, it's noisy, but that's the nature of hydraulics sometimes. So
yeah. And again, that's a 50, 60-year-old pump.
50, 60-year-old pump, and it's spinning pretty fast too.
Yeah, that's an old pump.
Okay.
So, of course, we can deal with that when it comes to its life's end.
Yeah.
So,
but for right now, we're gonna just use it. So I don't see a reason to change all that out other than the noise, and I can deal with a little noise. I'm about half deaf already anyway, so yeah. All right, so what's next for me on this? I've got some guards and some things I need to put on here. way covers, the guards on the end. There's some stuff up here on the top that needs to go together. We'll probably do some of that in the video. Need to get the grinding stone put back on and the cover that goes on all this. But once we kind of get everything running, and this will be in a video by itself, we will actually grind the table into this machine. So since we've done our scraping and stuff, we want to make sure this thing is all perfectly flat. Plus this is just an old surface anyway. We want to clean it up, so we will regrind the bottom. We're going to regrind the bottom of the chuck. We'll get those mounted together, clamped down together, and then we will regrind the top of the chuck so that it is also running true with the machine. And we'll have a nice, everything be dialed in perfect to this machine once it's all said and done. So that's kind of the game plan. So we still got some work to do, and I've still got some work to do even before we get to that stage. But we accomplished the goal today, which was getting the hydraulics up and going. And big huge thank you to Jim. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say I couldn't have done this without his help, but his years of expertise in hydraulics made sure I didn't make no stupid mistakes, which I'm apt to do sometimes.
It was easy today.
But it was easy. This whole machine has been easy so far.
Except those 10 drums of oil. Next time you have anything you have to put that much oil in, I got to rearrange my sock drawer that day.
Okay, well, I understand. Yeah, it'd been nice if we could have gotten a 55-gallon drum. And I could have, but I just ran out of time. So anyway, it is what it is. We got it done now. 12 jugs of oil in here. Yep. That was a lot. That was some work. All right.
Jim, shout out.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Austin P. in Hueytown, Alabama. Hello from Tifton County, Georgia. Uncle Jim, next time will you come down the house? We'll bring you over and let you see Mr. Keith, and maybe he'll show you some of the stuff when it's working too.
There you go.
And tell Pappy to be good.
All right, sounds good. I'm going to let you get on the road, and I'm going to get to work finishing this thing up, getting the covers and stuff put on.
Okay, bud.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
I think we're ready to start putting on some of the little accessories and things that need to go on this. And to start with, there's these little cups that kind of go on right down here that catch any oil and drain it back into the ways. Now, I will note that this one has a hole right here, and I had to figure out which one of these matched that hole. This is the one that goes there. And I also remember when I took these off, they had put some silicone behind these just as a gasket in there. There is no other gasket in there, so I'm going to go ahead and put that back in there. Put a little silicone in here to create a little gasket in between those. And make sure we don't block our hole with silicone there. All right, I think we're good. Now this back one here doesn't have a little indention in it. It just drains right into that lower area, but we got the V-way on this one, so it's got clearance down lower on it. All right, same thing. And I will note that the V-ways up on the bottom of this do not go out over this. If you remember when we did the table, they kind of cut off. They're not extended all the way to the end. So when this goes on a full stroke, the V-ways kind of end right here, so it's not actually going out past this, but you can get some drippage over into it, but it's not going to hit it as it does that long stroke there. All right. We got those in there. I'll do the same thing on the other side. So next we got some more covers. These basically just kind of keep the top from being open to the outside as the table moves back and forth. There's a couple of screws here that we just bolt in from the bottom. All right, got that one started. All right, got them both started here. Get these tightened up. And like I said, these are just basically keep when the table moves back and forth on the extreme ends, that hole up under the bottom that goes down to where the hydraulic fluid and everything becomes exposed, and these just kind of keeps everything covered up, keeps grinding dust from getting down into the tank below or any other trash from up above. They're just some covers. So let me get this other bolt tightened up, and we got the same thing again on the other side that I need to get going, put on as well. So there's also this piece here that's going to bolt onto the table, and its purpose is basically to support the little plates that go in the back that kind of keep the coolant in. There's one of these on the other side as well. It's taller though, and it's made to actually catch the grinding dust, which will be kind of thrown in that direction. But this one is shorter, and its purpose is again just kind of to hold these little pieces of metal that go from one end to the other. So let me go ahead and get this bolted in. Same basic thing over here. This one is a little bit taller, but does the same thing. All right. So now we've got a couple of pieces that kind of fit in these little grooves back here. There's a hole right here. I bet it goes the other way. Let me flip it around 180 degrees. All right. Here we go. So that one goes in there. That's just basically to help keep the coolant in there. And we got another piece that fits down on top of this one. And it looks like that there was originally a third piece that could go on top of that. I may have to make one if we decide we need it. There's also a piece that goes on the front here. This one kind of goes in at an angle. Kind of like such. And you can pull that out as needed. And it looks like there was a piece that you could put across the front here to give you a little bit more height, although I don't have that. I'm gonna pull this out right now just because I need access, but I do have that piece when we start grinding. So I'm up here at the top of the machine where the grinding wheel goes up and down. Now, when I got this, there was a tag right here that was pretty badly worn, and I had a really difficult time getting it out. In fact, the only way I got it out was I had to actually break the drive screws that were holding it in there and pretty much trash this tag in the process. It was the only tag on here that I was not able to save the original, and this one here pretty much was gone. So what did I do? I reached out to my buddy Tom Utley at Von Industrial, who makes reproduction tags, and he was kind enough to make me a new one. So I did request he do one thing a little bit different. The new tag is just a little bit taller than the old one, and what that allows me to do is to not have to drill out these original drive screw holes. I'll be going into fresh material, so it is just a little bit larger than the original one, but it's going to work perfect in this situation. So what I need to do is to mount this, we use a little drive screw, which is a little screw, kind of looks like this. It's not really a screw. It's got a, you punch it in, and it's kind of got this little wider area that just holds itself in. So it's kind of goes in, but it doesn't like really screw out. They call them drive screws, but they're really not screws. But we're going to put one of these in here. So I've already measured that. I need a 3/32 inch hole to mount that in, and we're going to go ahead and drill 2 new holes. Get my drill going here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just hold this up here and get the location for the first one. And I'm going to go ahead and drill that hole in here. You can see it is a little bit higher than the original one. That should be plenty deep enough. Put the top one in. Just going to tap it in a little bit here. And I'll use a punch now. We'll drive it the rest of the way home. It should be plenty deep enough. Get that grinding dust out of there, a drill bit swarf. And we will put our second pin in. My punch here. And one new tag installed, and that looks much better than the original. Tom Utley, Vaughn Industrial. You can look him up on the internet if you need reproduction tags made. Tom's the guru at it. He loves doing that kind of work. He'll do the artwork, and he's got a machine that will make these and do a great job. And now I can tell where I'm at here for my lever. While I'm up here, there's also a pointer that goes over this hand wheel to tell how far you've moved the head in and out. Really nice piece made out of brass. All right, let me get the other screw started on there. And like I said, you can just read the hand wheel, how far you've moved it. Go ahead and get it installed back on here. All right. All right. Looks good. And you can read that on there as you're dialing stuff in. So next I want to put the wheel guard back on. That's basically this piece here that fits up over the spindle. There's a couple of socket cap screws in here that hold this in place. Let me get these going. All right, so that covers up the wheel. There's a couple of screws that will hold that in place. We'll get those mounted in a bit. Now, one of the really cool features of these Thompson grinders is they have this built-in stone or wheel dresser. So you dress your wheel with a diamond, and basically this piece here mounts right up on here, and you can dress your wheel without having to take the work off or do it from the bottom. You basically just do it right here on the side of the machine. Really nice feature. Got a couple of socket cap screws that hold this on. And I had previously taken this off. I had completely disassembled it. It was full of all kinds of crud and junk. Put it back together, re-lubricated it, and it's in good shape now. Let's see, I'm gonna have to
do these with just a regular Allen wrench. I think I don't have enough room. Actually, I can reach it up from the bottom with this. Let's see. Yep. And go ahead and tighten these up. So of course your wheel is mounted in here, your grinding wheel. And this wheel dresser, there's a little diamond nib down here in the bottom. This is mounted to the head that moves in and out. So the wheel is actually moving up underneath this. And when you're ready to dress your wheel, you just drive this thing out a little bit, dress your wheel, and you back it back off when you're done. And it's real easy to dress your wheel without having to do it from below. Really makes doing that fine work on this machine a lot easier using this built-in dresser. Glad to have that little feature. So next we have our coolant delivery system here. There's a couple of bolts on right here that mount this to the guard. I'm just going to kind of put that in there just tight enough to hold it right now. And then there's a block that goes behind this that holds the tube in place. And we got a couple of socket cap screws that go through this whole assembly that lock that in place. Let me get this kind of started here. Whoops, wrong one. All right, that's getting it started. And this other bolt in here going. I'm going to bolt this one down first over here. Now we can tighten this clamp up here. And there's basically just a piece of hose that goes from this over to my coolant pump that I've got to get mounted on here. And that will deliver the coolant up here. And we got a little valve here that we can open and close to regulate the flow. And we got a little piece that kind of mounts here on the back here. This is just allows you to go up and down in that slot and adjust to your work that you're grinding on with the bottom of the wheel. And it's basically just here to catch the grinding dust that's just being kind of blown out to the front, to kind of keep from making quite as big of a mess. So we'll go ahead and put that in there. And I think got this thing pretty much back together. Much better. All right, we'll put this back on. All right, it's got the wheel on. And just like that, I think this machine is pretty much back together and ready to more or less use. Like I said, we need to do some work to the table. That'll be the first grinding job. Will be actually grinding the table. Before I do that, I need to get some tubing and piping for the coolant, and there's a couple of little small things I need to do. I need to put some oil down here in this automatic oiler and a few other little things. I need to check some things out. But probably when you see this in the next video, we're going to be starting the process of grinding that table, which I'm really looking forward to, and hopefully getting this machine back up and going because I've been needing it. I've needed it several times, And we're getting really, really close now to having it ready to go. All right, guys, with that, that is going to be a wrap. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Those thumbs up and comments are always greatly appreciated. Hit that bell icon up there to get notifications when new videos are posted. Big, huge thank you to the supporters of the site who support through Patreon, PayPal, etc. Leave a comment down below. It helps out with the algorithms. And guys, with that, that's a wrap. As always, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next video.